Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
Hey, everybody. We are back discussing the Dear Holmes Mystery by Mail series, talking about the January 2023 mystery. And I think we're on letter 4 now. We've
Yes.
talked about the first 3 letters. The case of the grave gamblers, or um, what else could it be? The purloined punters? No, that's not it, right? Um, the obsequious obituaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alliteration is the best. So if it's not alliterative, why are you messing with it? All right, Justin, let's do a recap because it's been a little bit since our last podcast. I think the hardest thing about this series is keeping all the details in our minds
Remembering.
between our podcasts.
Yep.
So yeah, let's do a quick recap.
All right.
So who did what?
Previously.
Who did what and why and when?
Previously on Wark McKenzie writes to Holmes about betters dying, although only one died.
Mm-hmm.
So we had I mean there's a lot of details, so you may want to have the letter available, in case my skimming doesn't cover a pertinent detail, but basically we had there's a lengthy preamble, and then we got this guy Wark McKenzie who runs some sports betting with just a small sort of group of friends and neighbors, um and then one day uh he runs into one of his regulars, this guy Joe Stark, slinking in the shadows, and he looks like he's beat up and stuff. um and then he sees an obituary in the paper for this another one of his punters, as it were. And so and there's some references to betting and stuff. And so he oh, and he also sees another obituary for good old
Mm-hmm.
Ranny Annie,
Mm-hmm.
um in a
Hey,
similar vein.
if anything happened to her, she deserved it, right? Because she's
Yeah,
too ranny.
that's what I've heard. To Ranny. So he decides to pay a visit to his friend Jack. Ranny Annie,
Mm-hmm.
just whatever. But he
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
decides to pay a visit, and when he goes there, Jack is well, he doesn't actually talk to Jack, but his wife Margie is there, and she says, yeah, no, Jack's fine. I don't know what you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, but there was this weirdo Joshua here, and
Mm-hmm.
uh he said, Jack should make amends, and she
Mm-hmm.
made him go away, and she's like, yeah, but Jack's fine, so bye, and closed the door in his face.
Yep.
um and then 2 days later he sees a news story that Ranny Annie is dead, um and she had been stabbed. And then there's some stuff about this Antonio the Lion Sabini,
Mm-hmm.
who runs bookmaking,
Guilty.
um and is known to send messages, but they usually stop short of murder.
Mm-hmm. So maybe
um
this is a situation where they didn't stop short for some reason. Gotcha.
right. Yeah, 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 exactly. um uh let's see. Oh, right. And then we get this stuff about Jenny, his daughter, her house,
Whose
and
house is it?
it's her house.
And no one else's.
No one else's. And he also says her husband, which he could say my son-in-law, but he doesn't.
Mm-mm,
Um,
mm-mm.
William Wilson, who is apparently a reckless bettor.
Yep.
Um, and let's see. And then let's see. He goes to Jenny's house and
Mm-hmm.
tells about what's going on with um uh let's see. Wow, I don't even understand the sentence, but okay, hold on. Shared my theory about the recent I laid before when I drew a clear line between Sabini and his sad victims, William snapped. Okay, I guess he's just warning him about Sabini. I guess
Yeah.
that's the point. And so he kind of freaks out and um tells him to leave. And then Jenny pulls him aside and says that I guess William was meeting one of his friends from the bank, and their meeting seemed
Mm-hmm.
lighthearted, but then it got worse at a certain point. Uh and let's see. Blah blah blah. Okay, right. And then it ends with him deciding to go down to Alley Pally
Mm-hmm.
to try to track down Joshua. So that's the end of the first letter.
Yeah, we talk about the gauntlet of righteousness and all the people who are anti-gambling, the
Yeah.
pro-religious people who are anti-gambling. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And we get Wark wondering if or worried that one of his bettors might be next.
Right. Right, right,
Okay,
right.
gotcha. That's letter one.
That's the promise that yeah, may or may not come to fruition. Okay. So, letter 2, uh no new murders. Um Someone has turned Jenny's house to shambles, and her husband and his associate, James Matter, are presently unaccounted for. And an obituary has been published for the latter, meaning Matter. Matter the latter.
Ladder matter. Yeah. Yikes.
um, okay. Um, so then he said, this is the one where it's this like flashback within flashback.
Oh.
Like he says that and then he backtracks. I
Mm.
was on my way home. He sees Jenny rushing down the street.
Mm-hmm.
She says he pushed me too far, and she wouldn't tell him what's going on. And but then eventually she said that when she came home, William was there and his friend Mr. Matter was there, and he was angry and he reached into his jacket and brought out a pistol and said, "If they come knocking, we'll be ready." And she wanted an explanation, but he shoved me away and told me to go for a long walk. Um, and uh, let's see. So then Ward grabs his cane, tells her to stay there, and goes to Jenny's house. And there's no answer. He goes inside. It's like in disarray and stuff. Um, there's the charred remains of a fire. There's some stationery that may or may not be important.
It's not.
Um, and there's a Bible lying on the ground near the front door. It was Jenny's. A page had been torn from it, folded in half, and left within. Um, he thinks about Joshua at that point, and the passage is Jeremiah 12:5, something about horses. Um, and then he decides, oh wait, he decides to go to the police station, but before he arrived, the situation grew even more disquieting. So
Mm.
so as he approaches the station, he sees the Daily Herald, and he sees he's expecting to see William's obituary, but he doesn't. Um, but
Wait,
he
wait, wait,
sees
wait, wait. Did we even talk about how unrealistic that is?
how unrealistic what is.
isn't this the same day that Jenny just saw William? How would his obituary be? Oh, not that he's really dead, but that
Yeah, they
someone
come
is running
before they
down.
die. So yeah, I
Gotcha.
assume he
Okay.
thinks like, oh, he's in trouble with whoever's doing the obituaries. So
Yeah.
and his friend has already had it published, although he
Yeah.
doesn't know that yet because this is what he reads right now.
This makes me think that William is doing the obituary since he's not in them.
Since he's not, yeah, yeah, he's definitely a suspect.
Yeah.
He's on the list. I got my eye on William, definitely.
Hmm.
Okay, so then yeah, he sees the Matter obituary. Um and he tells this constable about the obituaries and what he saw at Jenny's and stuff. And let's see, blah blah blah. Then he leaves. Um oh yeah, right. And here's where we get our extra flashback within the flashback.
Yeah.
Prior to learning of the mess at Jenny's house, I was able to question the members of the so-called Gauntlet of Righteousness.
Yeah. Yikes.
Um so yeah, the structure of this is really rough. Um I don't know why it couldn't have just been written in order, but okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um okay, so his morning begins at Ranny Annie Nickerson's wake. Her husband is there. And then let's see. And then he talks to this guy named Snape Stevens, who's a dock worker. Um, and he said earlier today he came upon Joe Stark, white faced, in distress, and he said he'd just been handed a newspaper with his obituary. Um,
So Joe was previously seen with a black eye, and
yes,
now today he was handed a paper with a obituary,
right,
presumably by Joseph, Jacob, what's his name? Jeremy,
Joshua.
Joshua.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get there eventually. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so he showed it to me. So this is Snape talking. He showed it to me, and I asked who would do that. Stark said it was some odd character with a Bible, insisting he pray. Then Stark told me he didn't have the money to pay his debt, so he was going to make himself scarce.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Blah blah blah. Before leaving, I looked. Okay, there's two coppers sitting on the front porch. Okay. Okay, right. Then he heads down to the alley pally um to go to the gauntlet, and before that he goes to talk to his old bookie,
Hmm.
Jake's. Um and so we get this scene here with Jake's where he says uh let's see. Oh right. God, this is wow, we really need to do this because I forgot all this. So he says, you shouldn't ask questions like that. Jack Darby's come to town from Clerkenwell.
Another J name.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's a lot of those. Um, he's after our lion's share of the business, meaning Sabini, I guess. It's
Hmm.
war. Um, I'm thinking of taking a respite.
Um,
Okay.
can I just say it's interesting because the way this comes across obviously is it's written as a letter, but this is about a conversation that happened verbally.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Jack said, um, well, I guess okay, yeah. This is wait, am I right? Let me see. Oh yeah, okay. So not Jack, but um, Jake. Yikes.
Jake's.
Jake's. Yeah. Plural. It's two of them.
Is it?
He. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Um,
Good. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm in
anything can
trouble.
happen here.
Okay.
Um, so basically, there's a quote that Warwick has, which is, "If you're going to ask questions like that, you might find yourself reading your own obituary." Abe, Jack Darby's coming to town from Clerkenwell. He's after our lion's share of the business. It's war. Blah blah blah. Okay. Anyway, My point here is a minor one, which is just to say that uh, Jake's, it's just I guess I'm just trying to point out this really small thing about how things are verbally versus written communication wise. So when it uses the phrase lion's share, like it's sort of this pun thing that
Mm-hmm.
only really comes across if you know the context of Sabini's name and you know that the L is capitalized, because obviously when we talk, we can't say a letter is capitalized or not verbally. um, so it's just weird that he sort of, since he's quoting Jake's, and he's quoting Jake's as saying lion's share with the capital L, that he's saying he was making this pun. Um,
Yeah.
but what if he wasn't? I don't know. It's just a weird thing that only comes across because he's
Yeah.
translating
Yeah.
a verbal thing to a written thing, and the only way you can make this pun make sense is to see it verbally. I mean, see it visually. Anyway, I just think it's weird that that's how we get this little line here, because it's a weird thing to say lion share. There's a guy named Lion, but it's a quote. Yet you don't know if that's what he meant, but that's what he meant. But also, you're writing it to somebody else, so you have to translate the pun to them. So you capitalize the L. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a weird thing.
I mean, I feel like if you emphasize it a little bit, if
Yeah.
he's after our lions share the business, like
Mhm.
you can kind of make clear that you're not just using the phrase lion share,
Yeah.
but like referencing the lion, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the easiest way to do that verbally, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fair point in terms of like the practical. Did he verify that Jake's actually meant
Mhm.
that pun?
Mhm. Yeah. Because it was a very. He said it very casually. He didn't. It's not like he said he winked at me when he said lion's share or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh yeah, so yeah, he puts his hand on his belly, tilts his head towards a scary bloke lurking in the shadows. Um and he's not sure who that guy is. And so he leaves, and then we get the gauntlet of righteousness. Um let's see. Yeah, he's looking for Joshua. And he talks to someone who says, I guess it's the harmonium player, who says Joshua's always out with us, and points to a stout drummer boy, no more than 5 feet tall, um, which I guess is a clue that this isn't Joshua, because Joshua's been described as tall. I don't think I mentioned that before, but I believe it's in there.
There we go.
Um, okay, so then he walks away. Um and let's see.
And so this is before he meets the real Joshua after this.
He's about to, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna meet Joshua right after this. It's just
Yeah.
I think the point is they don't know Joshua.
They don't. He's not.
So
Yeah, that's a good point to point out.
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
he's not a member of the Gauntlet of Righteousness? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like whoever Joshua is, he's not doing a thing with them. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he sees a tall, gaunt man pacing and holding a repent sign, and he goes up, and I remember there was some vigorous debate about this whole thing where he says, I hear you're calling on chalkers to repent, Joshua, and he says, so I am, and like, is it really Joshua, blah blah blah. But that's what he says. So I am, I mean. um and when the time is ripe, you can expect to see me. And then he says, if you're looking for a tip, try Jeremiah 12:5.
And then he says, "If you're good, you'll see me once. If you're bad, you'll see me twice."
Yeah.
That's David Lynch quote. Okay.
Indeed. Okay, and then yeah, he asked about Big Annie. I don't know. Did they mess this up? Did anyone ever call her Big
It's
Annie
supposed
before
to be
this?
Rainy Annie. I tell you, they'd be missing these details, man.
Yeah, yeah, like how did they mess that up? Anyway, he says never had a chance to pay her a call. And then
You
walks
know what? It
past.
was big. It was Big Jack Fallworthy,
Oh, he got those
and
confused.
it was Rainy Annie. Yeah, that's what it
Okay,
was.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That does seem like
Yeah.
is there no editor? Anyway. Um okay, so yeah, then Joshua walks away, or whoever it is, but I'll just say Joshua. And he decides to make his way home. Then he runs into Jenny, and now we're full circle back to where we started the letter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's basically the end of letter 2.
Okay.
So now we move on to letter 3. Okay. So letter 3, still no signs of Wilson or Matter. The police suspect that Jenny is guilty of a heinous act. Um, and okay. So yeah, so the constables men inspected Jenny's house. Um, and yeah, they came and questioned her and whether they had collars and stuff. Let's see, they found a bloody poker. um
Yeah. Yeah.
uh let's see, and they want to search it again with Jenny present. They don't take her in. um but they post a Bobby there. Um, okay, and so then I guess he goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, Jenny's gone.
Mhm.
Um, and he thinks she's searching for William, or maybe looking at the house before the officers show up. So he goes over there. Um, and when he gets there, Jenny's being let out by a detective holding her elbow, um, to give a statement. Um, and okay, so they carry her away, and then let's see. Right, as they're leaving, someone calls to them, and it's Joshua with his repent sign. And let's see. One of the Bobbies gives Joshua a shake of the head before they get in their wagon, whatever that means. The preacher folded a leaflet, between slats at the wooden gate, and then limped across the street, and read a Bible for some seconds, and then climbed into the wagon and drove away. Um, okay, so that's the Joshua thing. Um, so let's see. It says, okay, he had already looked in the parlor in Jenny's house, so he decided to look elsewhere. He circles the house. Um, he finds, so it had rained. So you could see tracks. There were dog and cat prints, but no human footprints until he got to the back porch. There were muddy footprints on the steps next to grimy wellies, surely too big to be Jenny's. Um, then he goes to garden shed and finds a rusty spade caked with mud. Um, he looks throughout the backyard, but doesn't find anything else. Some beds were laid out, and there's freshly upturned dirt to the left of 2 azalea bushes. A hole the size of a wash tub was dug out, obviously waiting for another azalea. Okay, so he's assuming it's just a gardening thing. He goes inside to look again. Um, let's see. Jenny's bedroom's untouched, nothing unusual, but there's in the kitchen, there's 2 missing objects. Uh bright orange Russian tea set. Um and uh let's see, and in the cellar, there was a large trunk missing as well. You could see an outline on the ground. Um, okay, then he goes to get the pamphlet, and uh, it's got the passage from Jeremiah. Below that was pinned the capital letter D, a symbol bookies use in the racing forms to designate that a horse has been disqualified, struck from the race. Um, okay, so then he goes back home, um, and he finds Holmes' perfectly timed letter, I guess. Um, so then he goes to William's place of employment, which I thought was Barclays, but will apparently turn out to be Winslow's bank. Um, so he goes to Winslow's bank, um, and oh, they get Ranny Annie and Big Jack right here. Wow, in the same letter. All right. Anyway,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, so then he talks to this Miss Gilbert at the entrance, asks for William Wilson. I guess he's uh yeah, he's sort of not telling who he really is or whatever. He just says like
Yeah.
it's a friend of mine. Um uh and let's see. Uh
Oh, they get Randy Annie, sorry, and Big Jack right in letter three, but not in letter two. Letter
oh, that
two is
was letter
they,
2,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the big Annie thing. Okay,
yeah.
all right, yeah. Okay. Um okay. So let's see. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm trying to follow this here. Okay, his name is William Wilson. I I do wish I had seen him as well. I'm very confused. Like I'm trying to skim this and like I'm losing the thread here. What is the point of this? He's a pleasant chap, I said. In a low voice, she asked, does he owe you money too? Okay. No, we're on the best of terms. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm very confused
So
by
yeah,
that
so
interaction.
work shows up. And Mrs. Gilbert's there, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to see a friend. His name is William Wilson." And she's like, "Oh, well, I haven't seen him. He's nice. Does he owe you money?" And he's like, No. We're on the best of terms." So he's just pretending to be a friend of William, coming by to
Right.
see him at work. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. But there's also this, does he owe you money too? I just got I got confused with like
Yeah, that's the idea that other people have either come by looking for him in
okay.
regards to money, or she has heard that he owes money to people or something.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so then he gets taken uh to some kind of, I don't know, character named Harry Jacobson, who says Wilson is one of my staff. He asks when he last saw him, and he says he's been scarce around here. Um, and let's see, it's been several weeks, I guess. Um, and yeah, so Wark asks, has he done anything wrong? And he says that's hardly the public's worry. Um, and then says, I'll have to go now. And he says his name is Kinsey, Mr. Kinsey,
Mm-hmm.
and basically just leaves.
Kinsey,
Um,
Mac Kinsey.
okay, so yeah, exactly. Yeah, such an alias.
I had real quick. I hadn't thought of this last time we talked about this, but I'm wondering if Harry is basically saying that William, well, aka Old Bill, because he says he has a knack for numbers,
yeah.
and we'd like to help him smooth out any bumps on his path, so to speak. Makes me think he knows what he's up to. You know, he knows he's in some trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe he's been placing bets for Harry.
Yeah, could be. Definitely.
Just want to throw that
Definitely.
out there. Yeah, it
I mean,
doesn't
I was
seem
thinking
that.
some bank shenanigans, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's I don't know. I think bank shenanigans, but tied to the betting.
Yeah. I mean, it makes more sense, like, because that's the theme, but
Yeah,
um, just
I'd bet on that.
yeah. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, so then he gets passed back to Miss Gilbert and who and asks her about James Matter. Um, and she's like, "Who? Oh yeah, he hasn't been around either." Okay. And then
So many people not at work.
yeah, I know. It's like who is working here? Uh
I'd like to
so
open a checking account, please.
okay, so then he heads home. Let's see, stops. Uh let's see. He stops at the Bell for some grub and bub.
The Taco Bell?
Um and yeah, the Taco Bell. Um and I didn't know they had those in 1920 in England, but
Yeah, a lot of these chain restaurants are older than you think.
you're right. That's a good point. It's a good point. I've learned that many times and I never remember. So okay, so the place is buzzing. They have a copy of the Daily Mail and it says Sabini nabbed for murder. And they show photos of Annie, Jack, and Joe Stark.
Hmm.
And he says he got Joe too, and Charlie, whoever the fuck Charlie is, some rando. I don't think this character's been mentioned before. Oh, I guess that's the bartender. Anyway, says Joe for sure. And Big Jack and his wife are missing. Um,
Okay.
Okay. So then he goes home and Jenny's there sipping a cup of tea and in good spirits. What's wrong with you? All right.
Mhm.
So then she talks about what happened at the police station, what sort of row they had. She told him about Matter waving a pistol and told them she had left William and was with me when he disappeared. Yeah, me meaning work. Okay.
Mhm. Not
This
Justin.
not yeah, not not Justin.
You're
That's
not,
right.
are you a suspect in this case?
Yikes! I hope I'm not involved.
Where were you last fortnight?
Okay. Um. Right. So he then works as I told them. You went over there alone. I shouldn't have. Um.
He's quoting Ginny.
Oh. Oh. I'm sorry. Jenny says that.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I thought he was saying that to her, but okay. Um. Uh, because I guess she didn't go there alone. Actually, she did go there alone, didn't she?
Yeah, but she told the police that Work went there alone,
Okay.
and so I think that's why.
Oh, and now it
Right?
was
I
only a
think they
question
said
of
it.
when he'd be hauled in. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, all right, so he jokes, maybe I was the one who hit him with the poker, not you. Okay, and then he apologizes. And she says sorry, and he says he's been to the house again. And the mess seemed much more manageable than I remembered. And he says he noticed the things that went missing, the Russian tea set and the large trunk, the one I gave you for traveling. She nodded and I told and says I
Says I
sold
told
the
you,
tea
says.
I told the C tet. All right, no, I sold the tea set this month. We needed money to pay our rates. I didn't know about the trunk. Maybe William loaned it to a colleague. Um, yeah, it's funny. Didn't he just run away? Isn't that a more
Yeah, but also
anyway?
he does have a colleague who might run away.
I know. It's like such a
Yeah.
weird. All right. So then now her spirits aren't good no more. Okay.
Oh, her spirits
Um
are down.
and then he says, I hope you kept that pawn ticket. We'll get your tea set back. And yeah, and then I think that's more or less the end. It's just kind of a summary here. So that's the end of letter 3.
Woo!
Brings us
Woo!
up to date.
I mean, if I was Holmes, I'd just give up. There's too many details
We
here.
felt
Jeez.
pretty lost at the end of number 3, if I recall. Like I didn't
Yeah.
have I mean, there's
Mm-mm.
definitely suspects, if you name
Mhm.
all named characters, then it's probably one of them.
Hmm.
but it
I
was
think it's
just kind of
Joshua, the drummer
confusing.
boy.
Yeah, right. Joshua the
He's
drummer
he's
boy.
5 feet of sinister
Pure
rhythm.
evil.
That drum beat is Satan's rhythm. Um. Okay. Yeah, I'm still lost. Not only am I lost, but I kind of don't care that much. Do you still care? Like, I feel like I'm like, I guess the urgency is still there. Okay, so Big Jack and his wife are missing. Randy's dead. Randy and he's dead. Joe seems to have also been killed. I think the guy said they got
That's
Joe
what he
too for
said.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got two murders, we've got some missing people, we've got a daughter who's threatened, and a missing brother-in-law and his associate missing. The thing is just that the scope of this issue is really really minor. I don't get the sense it's expanding. Like, oh man, if we don't stop it now, who else is gonna die? But maybe that's what letter four is for, is upping the
Mm-hmm.
stakes here.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, like the stakes are higher here than they were in the first mystery. Because in the first
Are you
mystery,
kidding me? The reputation of an academic? Is there any higher stake? How is he supposed to get work post hints?
Good point. Good point. Good point. Yeah, no, I mean, I care because we made it this far. I mean,
Ah,
I have a need to know, like, what is
okay.
up with this nonsense? Like, who's doing what? Like, why all these, there's so many weird details.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Why?
think
Why?
that's why I'm
Why?
pulled in. Like, do I care on a like real level? Like, definitely not. But
Yeah. It's like keeping
but
up
I'm
at night.
just, yeah, definitely not gonna lose sleep. But it's like, but like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I definitely am curious to see, and I feel that after letter four, we should be able to solve this because we saw the first one after letter four. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm optimistic.
We solved it, but we were wrong about some of the details.
Well, we didn't get everything, but I feel like, yeah, if we can at least get the party who's mostly responsible for things, I'll count that, for like
Yeah.
80% or whatever.
Okay, and so right now, what do you think is happening? So is it not Jake's, but what's the other J word? The new guy. Oh man, I forgot his name already.
Joshua?
No, the new guy, the new Sabini.
Oh, I
The
forgot that character. Yeah. Jack, is it Jax? No, there's already a Jack.
Jake's. There's Jake's.
Jake's
There's
Jax
Joe. There's
and
Joshua.
wait, what letter was that? Was that in the previous one?
I thought it was two, but I don't see it now.
Yeah, yeah, it's in two. It's in two. Okay, here. It's that Jack Darby. It is Jack.
Oh, it's Jack, not Jake's. Okay.
There's Jack, Big Jack Faultworthy and Jack Darby.
Oh, there's two Jacks. Okay.
Two Jacks. Yep.
Um. Yeah.
Yep.
So he's moving into town. He wants the quote lion share
Mm-hmm.
of the business. And so is Sabini just being more aggressive with his customers and it's gone too far, or is it actually the new guy Jack who is killing people who owe him money? Where does Joshua fit in? Is he behind it, or is he just a henchman delivering messages?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess I would want to say I don't think Joshua's behind it, and I guess I don't want to think the main bad guy is, you know, doing all the legwork. Um, so I would want to think he's working on behalf of someone else. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess I would think since this is new that it's Jack and this is his new thing he's doing. Um, I don't know what to do with William. I guess I want him to be stealing money from the bank. It doesn't seem like he's really doing that. Um,
They certainly didn't seem to think he was.
No, no. They seem to want him back at the
Yeah.
bank. Not like, oh, good riddance, he's bad, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I find that interesting. That it's not like it doesn't sound like he was stealing money from the bank in order to gamble. Or at least they haven't found out about it if that was the case. But there are some people who are after him and matter,
Yep.
so much so that they need to be armed. So that makes me think of Jack. That makes me think of the new bookie guy.
Yep.
Sabini was, I guess, okay. Here's an interesting question, right? So in letter three, Sabini is nabbed.
Right.
Well, this won't really prove much, I guess. But the question I would have is, does anyone get killed after Sabini is nabbed? Or are there any
Ah,
new obituaries after he's nabbed?
is there any way to tell?
I know it might be hard to tell the way this is written
Let's see.
because we get information about. Okay, so in the is it the same day? Is letter three all the same day? Because that's the day the paper has information that Sabini's nabbed.
It's technically the next day by the
Joe.
date.
Well, what do you mean by next day? So letter three is May 12th.
Yeah.
But he says he's talking later on the last page, or second to last page. He says everyone was circled around a copy of today's Daily Mail. Is that today the 12th? I'm assuming that's the day the 12th.
I would assume that as well.
Okay, so on
But
on the 12th, Sabini was nabbed. So Sabini's arrested, and it seemed like Joe's dead. Who he wasn't dead before because he was at the funeral, right? Wasn't he at the funeral, the wake for Annie?
was he at the funeral?
Or did somebody just mention
I
him?
thought they talked
Oh,
about him. I thought they talked about him, but
that's
maybe he
right.
was at the
That's right.
funeral.
Let me see.
Wait, where was
What's his
that?
name?
Was that in letter 2? I can never
Yeah.
remember where anything is.
The wake.
Oh, here it is. Oh no, that's not it. Um, where is it? Oh, it's here. It's here. Ah, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this guy he talks to said he saw Joe Stark.
And what day was that? So that's
Uh,
the 11th of the
he
letter.
said earlier today, but this is embedded in a flashback. But I think it's that morning, so it should be the 11th.
Okay, still should be the 11th. Okay.
So yeah,
Definitely it
if
wouldn't be
Joe
the
Stark
10th because the 10th,
died,
yeah.
it should be
Yeah.
sometime between those two things.
Okay.
This
Well, if he,
this
yeah, he should die on the 11th if the 12th is when information about him being dead is published.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um oh, and he does talk about Joshua seemingly. Um he actually says that um oh, I guess oh right, Joshua handed him the newspaper. I guess that's the point here with the obituary.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like if Joshua's not doing the obituaries, like it
Hmm.
just seems like he's approving of
Well, he
them.
definitely knows. He knows about them, and he knows what's in the paper when he hands it to people,
Yeah.
right? I'm still
Yeah.
worried why. I'm still confused why he was like doing all this, obituary delivery, but meanwhile he's just on a street corner somewhere rambling about gambling. Um, I didn't mean that to rhyme, but it just is weird. He's
Gambling
a
and
weirdo.
rambling.
Gambling and rambling, but he's also not a member of the guilty remnants. I
Right.
mean the
Yeah, it's the same.
yeah.
The gauntlet of righteousness.
Yikes. Um. Anyway, okay, so I'm pretty confused. I think there's a lot of details that I'm not able to really piece together what happened. I mean, I guess for the William side of stuff, William and Jenny, I guess like what he will take what she says is true. The matter came over. He had a gun. William pushed her too far. She left. Somehow there is. incident with the poker, the fire poker. Someone gets stabbed or
Yep.
poked, and there's blood on it.
Hmm.
They decide not to hide the whoever did that did not decide to hide the weapon for some weird reason.
Right.
Um, and then they go through all this stuff. Okay, and then so later when Warwick jokes to Jenny that, oh, maybe I poked William, um, she's not amused. So that makes me think she did it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, a priori, if I didn't suspect that we're gonna have a fairly tidy conclusion,
mhm,
I would suspect that the William James stuff was like separate from this
yeah,
business with the bookies and the betting. However, I'll just mention the things that tie them together. So,
please.
I mean, they did mention that William was, a reckless bettor. That was mentioned in the
Yep,
first letter.
yep,
Um, James Matter had an obituary published.
yep.
There was the Bible with the Jeremiah quote left
At his
there,
house. It was
which
Jenny's
Joshua
Bible with the quote. Yep.
mentioned, and Joshua showed up there too.
To post a
Um,
leaflet slash pamphlet.
Yeah, to post the leaflet. So that's a number of things that do seem like the they link to the deal
Mm-hmm.
with the betters. So, and I just
Yeah.
feel like with the way these letters work, I'm assuming that it will boil down to one story. It's not going to be like, oh, they're doing this
Yeah.
random thing over here, and that's got
Although,
nothing to do with that.
although one of the home stories we did read the solution to was like that.
Yeah, you're right.
This doesn't, but I agree with you. This doesn't seem like that because there's only two things, right? There's the betting stuff and the Williams stuff.
Yeah,
There's not like four or five things that don't seem related. So,
right, right.
um, I agree with you. I think they should be connected, but okay. Well, I'd say let's go to letter four, man. I mean, something
Yeah.
clearly we need is in letter four. Um, uh, I'm assuming it's going to be maybe another murder. Maybe Big Jack will surface and have some information or something.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Maybe they find William, but I do think the reason Ginny is feeling better is because uh, she saw William or she knows he's okay. Although,
Mhm.
I mean, like, how much is she in love with him, right? I don't know. They haven't convinced me that much.
She didn't seem that upset, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Now that makes me think: could she be behind anything? What if she's guilty?
I think she's, definitely on the suspect list.
Okay,
I'm not ruling
okay.
her out at all,
She had to listen. They had a Russian tea set she had to sell.
right?
So maybe she's like, okay, money's a big issue. Like we having to sell stuff I love. Like I have to take matters in my own hands. Maybe. So
Yeah.
maybe is she doing some betting?
And now I'll vow
Maybe.
revenge on all betters. Oh, she's doing some betting. Okay.
Oh, well, I like your angle. But I will destroy all betters because I lost once.
Yeah.
Um, but I was gonna say that maybe she is like, okay, I gotta play some bets. Like William's not good, but like, hey, I can win some money for us, but I can't go to my dad, right? Because he's gonna know we're in arrears,
Mhm.
and I don't want to go to him and tell him all this stuff. So I'm gonna go to the new guy. Then there's a new guy in town, Jack, something something, whatever his name
Darby,
is,
yeah. Yeah.
Jack Darby. And maybe she plays some bets with him.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe could she have done it under William's name, or maybe they're in it together? Yikes! I don't know. But anyway, I'd love to get Jenny in here somewhere to where she's got something going on. But okay, and then who poked who? I'm assuming William got poked. I know it's a weird word. I'm gonna keep using it. Um, did he get poked from behind? Who knows where he got poked? Um, okay, I'm gonna not double down on that because I want to go. I have more. And
Yikes. All right. Yeah. Mhm.
And if he was poked, does he need medical attention? If so, where would he go?
Mm-hmm.
There's the traveling luggage. Was that already packed and ready to go? Did he have to pack it quickly and leave? Did she go pack it when she went over there that morning?
Yeah.
I would love to find some evidence about, when was the decision to leave made? Because it wasn't like, earlier, right, when Matter comes over and he's got the gun and goes, "We'll be ready for anyone who comes." That's my Matter impression.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
And
Spot
thanks,
on.
just like him, right?
Yeah. It's
And
like he's in the room with me,
yikes! Watch your back.
and you're not even in the room
Um,
with me. Anyway.
I know that's how good I am. I'm throwing my voice. And um, what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it wasn't like, oh no, like people are coming to get us. We better leave now, So it wasn't like a plan like we need to leave. It was more like, well, we'll defend ourselves and stay, right? So I find that interesting in the context of somebody leaving, which makes me think the leaving plot came after someone got poked and attacked. And then is there still this? I just, what I want. I want to play by play because like when does Joshua show up? There's he leaves Jenny's Bible. Where does he get her Bible from? He tears out pages and like I think he
Or is
circles
that
or
hinting at a
underlines.
connection between Jenny and Joshua?
Well, they both have J names and they're both tall men.
Just,
Oh
just,
wait,
just throwing it out
um,
there.
wait. What's the connect? Wait, what are you saying? Use your words.
Well, just because it was Jenny's Bible and because it had this page torn out that matches the quote that
Mm-hmm.
Joshua references
Mm-hmm.
later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing out the idea that, maybe it's a hint that there's a connection between Jenny and Joshua.
So that you mean that Ginny and Joshua are on the same ideological page?
Something like that,
Okay,
potentially.
they might be
Yeah.
working together, or
Yeah.
Ginny is trying to get William to stop gambling.
Yeah.
I can't quite make it work, but I like that idea. That's really interesting. I don't know why she'd use the same Bible quote. I get just because you're saying it's not independent innovation. They know each other
They
and
know
they're
each
in
other is what
cahoots.
I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's like it's a
But
clue
then
for the
but then
readers.
why I like that a lot. But why would Joshua come back and leave a pamphlet on the door? Who's that?
That also has the a reference,
Yeah.
right? It has the
Yeah.
same passage and the capital letter
mm,
D.
Yeah, exactly. Does something
Yeah, we got to figure
disqualify
out what that
disqualify?
means.
And then, I feel like we're like Inception here with like 15 levels of plot. Like the last thing I want to say, or another thing I want to say, is just that the whole idea that Joshua and the Bobby are working together, or they know each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a weird moment. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. There's also the question of what happened in the backyard, with the
The mystery of the azaleas.
yeah, the mystery of the azaleas with the spade and the wellies and
Mm-hmm.
like, something went on back there. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Um so like,
but like
again, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, but something went on, but like the cops didn't seem to go. Like I love that detail. Like there were no other human footprints out there, which means the cops didn't go out there and look.
Nah, they didn't
Now
bother,
maybe they
yeah.
maybe they didn't because they're in on it and they know there's nothing back there to discover.
Yeah, or maybe they're just not doing a great job because they can't solve the
Or
case.
they're because they're just coppers, yeah.
Just
Um,
throwing it out there because we are supposed to solve it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, along similar lines, I just on a meta level, I don't expect the gangsters to be behind this.
Hmm.
Um, because they're just such like classic red herring
Yeah.
suspects for stuff like this. Um,
Yeah. I
and
yeah, yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that's sort of what I would tend to believe, in the
Mhm.
absence of further information. I mean, if we get clues where it really links that one of them, I'll go over and accept it. But just yeah,
Mhm.
like that's my initial position with characters like that. They just seem like they're planted there to throw you off.
Yeah.
Um the other thing I was gonna say is, like, if Jenny's really involved in this, like, murder scheme, like, that is gonna be crazy because, she's the daughter of the one writing these letters, so it's just,
Yeah.
like, I just like, how emotional, I just feel like that mostly they've been fairly dry,
Mhm.
and like the worst thing was what you said, like, oh no, my academic career is in shambles, like
Yeah.
it's not it's just hard for me to imagine, like, oh my god, my daughter's like a murderer, like, like, is that really gonna happen? I don't know, that's a meta thing, but I'm just like, it's hard for me to imagine them actually going there in these letters,
I
so
definitely don't think I don't think she's behind anything more than the Williams stuff. I don't think she's dealing with Ranny, Annie, and Big Jack and Joe. I don't think she's doing the obituaries. Now she might be, connected to Joseph, right?
Joshua.
Joshua, jeez. And but I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's too far. But I think if anything, maybe. Oh, here's a question: could she have? Now, this is probably too detailed for the Dear Home series, but I wonder if there's a situation that could be plausible where you know so letter one happens, her dad is realizing that some of his betters are having this obituary thing happen, and one of them's dead, and like so she finds out about that, and
Mhm.
knows that this thing is going that knows that somebody's doing this stuff to scare off people from betting, or at least to pay their maybe to pay their debts. Could she be a copycat, and she's the one who posted Matters thing?
Yeah, I had the same thought and the same other thought, which was that that's too complicated for this series,
Yeah.
but I do agree that, like, that seems logical, like, if, like, that would be a way to have her being up to something without having her
Mhm.
implicated in multiple murders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
She's trying to scare William, or
yeah,
maybe she blames Matter for it, and she's like, "I'm trying to get Matter out of William's life," or
yeah,
something, or
yeah.
whatever,
If
and,
this was
we've
a
already
TV
had to.
show, like, that could
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
happen.
We've already had to sell our tea set. What are we gonna have to sell next?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this has gone too far.
I need to
Let me see
scare you
something.
into, like, changing your
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah.
basically. So, yeah, yeah. Um, uh, yeah, it seems like, I don't know, the way they were acting, the way she described them acting, it does sound like they're afraid of the gangsters.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and, is it possible that, you know, I
And
don't
not from
know.
the obituary, right? So they're not afraid of them from the obituary stuff.
No,
That's
no.
that they weren't involved in that yet. So yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know if did they even know about the obituary?
It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't it seems like a separate thing. So that's what's weird, right? That there'd be this obituary plot for certain betters, but then William and Matter are up to something else. That's why I wanted him to be stealing from the
But
bank,
Matter did
or
have an obituary.
but
I'm just
Matter did
not
have an
sure if he knew
obituary.
about it.
And there was even a thing that Matter was a gambler before
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And who knows if he even knew about it, right? Yeah. And I mean, that's the question, right? Is if Matter had an obituary, that means that, oh geez, Joshua would have potentially wanted to go show up at his house to give him the letter. He did it to
Mhm.
Joe. He did it to Big Jack, but
Yeah.
he didn't get around to Randy Annie for some reason.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if Matter has an obituary, you think odds are more likely that I want to say Jacob, Joseph, Joshua,
Joshua. There we go.
that he that he would want to come to him to deliver the obituary, but
Yep.
but we don't know anything about where Matter lives. We only know he's been seen at William's house. Excuse me,
Jenny's
Jenny's
house, please.
house.
God,
Like,
never
read
ever
the
say
deed.
that again.
Read the deed. Um, and so would they have shown up there? Would Joshua have shown up there to deliver the paper somehow? Like,
Uh, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's possible. I definitely feel like that's possible. I mean, there's a lot of unaccounted for time, and and there's the Bible thing, and he does show up there, not to deliver an obituary, but for this to put this pamphlet in there with the letter D. Like, he's clearly got some interest in that place.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I mean, I guess I have to imagine the altercation at Jenny's house with the fire poker. Is that what the bad guys? Is that what the what did you call them?
the gangsters,
Gangsters. Yeah. Did they show up, but they didn't have a like? I guess I expected someone to be shot, or
they did have a
they were
gun though, or at least
had a
Jenny
gun.
claimed they did.
Well, Matter had a gun, but yet we only see evidence of somebody being poked.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot unaccounted for in that whole thing that went on
Hmm.
like off screen. So I think
That's what I want to
un
see. I want to be like, oh, there's a gunshot in the wall, which means
yeah.
they tried to shoot at somebody, but then the unarmed person grabbed the fire poker and poked the person with the gun, or something.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. All right. All right, bear with me for a second. So what if I don't have a specific theory here, but I just want to throw this out there. Like, what if I feel like I thought I said this on the last podcast, so maybe I'm just saying it again, but um the missing trunk, you know,
Yes.
I was just thinking, what if one of them's dead and they were put in the trunk? And
And then they were going to be buried in the
yeah,
Azalea plot.
they were gonna bury him, but they didn't have time to do it, or I don't
So
know.
where is he now? Where's the trunk and where's the body?
They took it somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. But it feels like that
I do.
almost
Yeah,
makes
you're right.
sense.
It almost makes sense. It's a good plan. It seems like they got interrupted. If that was the plan,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, it seems like it's not big enough.
yeah.
And there has to be, but then what did they do with it? This trunk with a body in it? Like,
Whose
where do
body would
you
it be?
well, it would have to
And
be
why would you wouldn't want to bury a body on your own property? I don't think you want to do that.
I mean, they didn't do it in the end, but yeah, it does seem like a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like the body, like, there's two possibilities, I think. Like, the body should either be Williams
Hmm.
or Matters.
You
Um,
don't think it's one of the bad guys? Like they killed one of the bad
I
guys
mean,
with
I
the
guess it
mask.
could be. It seems more likely to me that it's like people we know to have been there specifically.
Yeah.
Um, I could be wrong, but that's what I would expect. So there's the one scenario where, you know, I don't know, maybe Jenny and William are involved. And they killed Matter, or another scenario is Jenny and Matter are secretly in cahoots, and
Mm.
it was actually William who was killed
Hmm.
with the fire
Yeah,
poker.
when Matter would come over with that bottle of gin, he'd stay a
Mhm.
little later and
Yeah,
uh,
something like that. Um,
get to poking some others.
oh, yikes. Indeed, yes. Yeah, but I mean, again, that does get into like implicating Jenny in some pretty heinous shit. So,
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
she's
sure
a
she's like a
homeowner,
noir villain
so
from the
yeah,
40s.
she's a homeowner. What bad could she do?
Right. No one who owned a home could ever do this. Like, yeah. I think that's maybe a reason not to, but maybe it was an accident, maybe there was a scuffle between the two guys and it was like, oh
Don't
shit,
forget
what
the
do we
accident.
do?
Yep, don't forget the accident.
Yeah.
Or let's not forget it's all staged.
Or it's all staged. Yeah. Yeah. That could be true too. That could be true
Mm.
too.
What if
I
that's a thing? What if, okay, so Jenny, Matter, and William are at the house, Jenny's house, and Matter shows the gun, William pushes her too far, she leaves. And then what if, you know, William and Matter stage some kind of thing and, the person was willingly poked
yeah.
to get the blood on the poker.
Right.
And then Jenny is
Yeah.
distraught because she thinks something happened to William. But then when she goes back the next day, she learns that it was all staged, which is why she's in good spirits.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes
Something like
sense.
that, something like that.
That makes a
And
certain
then and
kind of
so
sense.
but to stage it, you'd want to stage a murder so that the people who are looking for that person stop looking for them.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest reason to stage a murder.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they accomplished that with what they did because there's no
I
body
agree.
yet. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
body. The cops aren't thinking in this line, so they're not like publishing a newspaper that like William's dead or Matter's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Oh well, they did publish his obituary. Maybe that's a thing. Do you think that could be maybe his obituary is a red herring in the sense that it's not the original publishers who did it, it's somebody else who's trying to be like, "Hey, no need to kill Matter. He's already dead." Even though he's in hiding somewhere.
I mean, that could be true. That could be true. A voice in my head says that feels a little too complicated, but
Mhm.
definitely, in a normal Sherlock Holmes mystery, that seems like a valid
Yeah.
thing to wonder about. Like, can we be sure that all of these obituaries are from the same source?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, it's yeah. I feel like a fucking obvious thing to do that I can't believe hasn't come up yet is can somebody go to the paper and find out who's taking out these ads, please?
Right?
Like who's calling in
Yeah.
these obituaries? Like someone's doing this, right?
Yeah, yeah. That should be Sherlock's first assignment would be to do that.
Why hasn't that come up? It's just
Yeah.
like obituaries show up. I don't know. Like,
Something also basic. God, I'm losing what it was. We were just talking about the obituaries from the same source, and having. Oh man, and maybe it'll come back to me. God, there was something else I was like, oh yeah, we didn't think about that either. Them working together. Oh man, it just flew out of my brain. Damn. What we were just saying. What we were saying before this. We said,
oh god.
uh, yeah, Matter. Oh,
Yeah, we were
sorry.
talking about
Well,
some.
I remember. I remember now.
Okay.
It was a small point, which is just that what would make more sense is if the obituary was about William.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to me that it's about Matter.
Yeah.
If it was William's obituary, it would make sense to me. You could say Jenny did it, or somebody who's like, hey, because first of all, we have what seems like Joshua at their house,
Yeah.
right? Where William resides,
A place
because
where William lives that
that's not
yeah,
his house, clearly.
definitely not his house.
So it would make more sense if it was about him,
Well, we got
because
to
we've.
put William on the suspect list too, I think.
Hmm.
I'm just throwing that in. Like, it's possible that the stuff that's making Jenny look guilty maybe actually applies to William. Like, maybe he
But
has a connection with Joshua.
why would he be interested in betters and debtors getting out of arrears? Yeah, why would he care about that? Now, to me, he would care about it is if he loaned these people money and he's got to pay the bank back. That was my original idea, right? Was like
Oh,
from the
yeah,
beginning,
right.
was like
Yeah.
he borrowed money from the bank and he, he's overextended on the betting and now
Mhm.
he's got to like whatever, whatever. That's the only thing I can think of, right? I mean, what else? Why else would he care that these people pay their debts?
Yeah, I mean,
And it doesn't explain who killed the people who actually end up dead.
I
We
think
don't
that's
know.
the best reason. The only other thing I could think of is basically a version of the idea of Jenny's like drive to murder, that it's like I was a reckless better. I got in trouble and now I'm gonna kill people who do that. Yeah, it makes no sense. Anyway, do continue. I, I give up that. As soon as I say it out loud, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't work at all.
the scene at the bank wasn't like, oh, we can't wait to get rid of William, like he's a ne'er do well and we're worried he's been gambling or some money's come up missing and eyes are pointing towards what there wasn't anything like that where like he's doing anything untowards at the bank.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All
true.
right,
It's
I think we
true.
should I think we should go to letter 4.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
I don't think we're gonna come up with anything more yet.
No, no. Letter 4 should hopefully help narrow down the possibilities a little bit.
All right, let's go to letter 4.
All right. All right. So you ready to dive into letter number 4, in
Do
which
it.
we will receive our final clues.
Let's do it.
All right, from the desk of Work McKinsey, etc., etc. 14 May 1920. So I guess this is 2 days after the last one. Yeah, 2 days after the last one. Dear Mr. Holmes, you have my heartfelt thanks for your return letter and suggestions. I am aghast at your report that Sabini will soon be released for lack of evidence. Your report? What? What? Okay. And yes, I've learned that Jack Darby has been reported missing, but I confess knowing little else of the matter. My letter today concerns some promising discoveries related to Jenny's husband William and his associate James Matter, an increasingly suspicious fellow, I will add. I spent much of yesterday carrying out your recommended investigations, taking a page from your book of tricks. I donned a disguise in order to return to Winslow's bank and learn more about Matter, including his address. After a quick breakfast at 6, I wrapped a shoebox in brown paper and string, glued on a mustache, put a faded gray cap on my head, and clamped a pipe between my lips. 30 minutes later, I walked into Winslow's bank. You might think my face would have been remembered, but I've had enough encounters with the upper crust to know that all they see are the clothes you wear. It was also a rather good mustache, if I do say so.
Oh my god. I mean, but is this point? Did he change his clothes? Did he wear different clothes? Did he wear nicer clothes? I feel like that's the unanswered question here.
He wore a cap. Did you want
Oh,
more?
I guess that's it.
Uh, let's see. All right. Miss Gilbert was just past the front entrance when I arrived. I nodded to her and announced that I had a parcel for Mr. James Matter. Yet already I recognized something peculiar. A gold bracelet on her wrist was similar to a birthday present William gave to Jenny several years back. A rather unique design with delicate chain links in the Napoleon style and a deep blue brooch. Is that brooch? It looks like brooch, but I feel like that's wrong.
I think it's
Anyway,
brooch,
is
but
it
maybe that's
brooch?
where brooch comes from.
It's not brooch. Okay, it's brooch. Okay, it looks like brooch. William had
I think a
blathered.
brooch is a brooch. It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
You can say it. You can say it either way.
Either way.
Okay. William had blathered on and on about it when he first gave it to her, saying it
Although there is a
belonged.
Broach.
Oh,
I think you can
okay.
pronounce Brooch either way, but there also is Broach. We'll circle back to that mystery later.
That's broach. Okay. Okay. Like to broach the subject.
There it is. That's probably why there's two different spellings because there's a little.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. William had blathered on and on about it when he first gave it to her, saying it belonged to his great aunt. Miss
Please.
Gilbert saw me gazing at the bracelet and covered it with one gentle hand. You are a lucky woman, I said. It is nice, monsieur. She uncovered it and gave me a smile. Uh,
That's the most
as
tawdry thing I've ever read.
what?
That's the most tawdry thing I've ever read. She covered the golden bracelet with one slender hand, and then uncovered it and gave me a smile. Like
I
if
mean,
this was like the 1800s, like yeah, that's incendiary stuff.
we were asking, in that letter with the trip to the bank, like what was the point of that? So anyway,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a question for the next mystery that we can add to our list of questions to ask early on. Is something about like presupposing relationships that haven't been established.
yeah.
Because that happened with the. I think we were wrong about that in the last case. We were presupposing that the constable
Oh,
and,
right.
and the chambermaid had a relationship.
The
But that didn't happen.
secret, yeah, the secret relationship that
Yeah,
never really happened. But in
it's
this
funny. This is the
case,
same thing. It's the same thing. The guy gives her a trinket of his
you're
affection. Yeah,
right. You're
that's
right.
so
But this time
funny.
it's true.
This time it's
So
true, and it could have been true last time. It just wasn't.
and they just didn't say it for no reason. I think it was
Yeah.
true about the last one. I
You
refuse
think it was
to.
true? You know what? Who comes from Wales and doesn't fall in love with a constable?
Exactly. I forgot she was from Wales. She like just arrived like last week and
It
she's
was like
already in
2
love and
weeks,
getting
and
bracelets and
she listen, when you have a constable in your sights, you nab him. He's part of the constabulary.
You're right. You're
That's one of
right.
my favorite words.
It's a good word.
It's a
People don't
crazy
use that
word.
enough, honestly.
I agree, and it's everyone's fault but ours. Okay.
All right. As on the day before, this demure young lady then asked me to wait. Henry Jacobson soon waddled out and inquired, Who needs? Why do you need James? I told him Mr. Matter left this address at the jeweler's. He had what? He
Another
had
jeweler
left that what address? Oh,
the
this
address of the
address meaning
bank.
where they are. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Reading comprehension. Okay. Um it's like all right, another attached the address. I don't know. Okay. He had a watch repaired. My orders are to deliver this to him in person, sir. That's all I know. He fingered the string on the package and pushed it
Yikes.
back. That's what it says.
Why is
Uh
this so sensual? Like, am I reading this wrong? Like, what's happening here? He fingered the string on the package and pushed it back. It's in like 90% of romance novels. I mean, that's a phrase. Okay.
If you need to deliver it in person, that's a pity. He's been remarkably absent of late. Is it remarkable? Because anyway.
Because he did.
Um
Is that the technical term for dead? Remarkably absent. um. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I said, young men do get into delicate situations. Yes, said he. Miss Gilbert tittered. Jacobson added, frankly, old boy, our clerks are hard pressed. Didn't think
Sorry.
he'd be.
We can't steamroll past Miss Gilbert. I mean, why did they write that line? Like, I don't understand it.
She's a weirdo. I maybe it'll make sense in the end. That's all I can say.
The tithering is all what it was all about. Okay, sorry.
Jacobson added, frankly, old boy, our clerks are hard pressed. Didn't think he'd be the sort to disappear during an audit. It's outrageous. Hmm. Okay. I told him that I was
I like
sorry to
that.
hear that. What?
I sound like that. Okay, audit. So that
Yeah.
gives us a period of time where something new is happening. They're looking
Yeah.
for money. The banks. Okay, so we got to cover. Let's back to the old idea. They got
Yeah.
to cover their tracks.
Something's going on. Yeah. Yeah. There's something fishy with the bank. Like, yeah. Let's throw that back in. I told him I was sorry to hear that, but that I had a job to do. Could I please have his house address? Miss Gilbert said, I think that would be only fair, don't you, Mr. Jacobson? The bank manager grumbled, fine, get him Matter's address. She hastily jotted an address on a deposit slip for me. Newcastle Row, number 6, a rooming house near St. James Church Garden. Should you see him, said Jacobson, remind him he has a place of business to visit now and then. I winked, will do, and took up the parcel to leave. Then I paused, recalling your instructions, and brought out an intact sheet of stationery for Nolan Financial Associates. Hey, it's the
This is back.
stationery
Okay.
that he mentioned before that maybe shouldn't have been in the letter, but now it seems like maybe it should have. Anyway, maybe they changed their mind about the stationery.
So he's
Uh
saying he's talking to who's it? Jacobson.
uh which part?
Sorry, Gilbert and Jacobson, right?
Who?
And then sorry, works undercover at the bank, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and he's talking to Gilbert, Miss Gilbert and Jacobson, right?
Well, in the
And
scene
then
he is.
I mean, yeah, sorry, in the scene. And then I'm just trying to make sure I understand the logic here. And then he says, get him at his address. She writes down an address, Newcastle Row. And then she says, you see him, remind me of this place to visit. Okay. Okay. And then he says, I'm trying to see the change of person talking here. Should you see him? Said Jacob. Okay, so Jacobson says, should you see him? Remind me of this place to visit. Place of business to visit now and then. I winked, will do, and took a partial leave. Then I paused, recalling your Sherlock
Holmes, yeah.
instructions and brought out intact sheets. Okay, great. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the stationery that he found at Jenny's house. Uh and that he said he enclosed for Holmes, but
Okay,
we didn't actually see it.
gotcha.
So it makes me think like Holmes sent it back to him and told him to take it to the bank, like
Mm-hmm.
off screen, as it were. That's my assumption. Okay. I jabbed my finger at the Lime Street address.
Wait. Hold on a second, though. He says I brought out an intact sheet of stationery. So
hmm
wasn't the ones he had from the fire not intact?
Uh, I
Right?
thought some
Didn't he
other
only
stuff was. I
attach?
thought this was not burned. Um,
Oh, there was stuff not burned. Oh,
I
that's
think
right.
so.
I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Let me see
Yeah.
here. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I found the
Where
charter
is it?
mains. It's in letter 2 at the top of page 2.
Mm-hmm.
I found the charter mains of a fire. Included were several intact pages of
Okay, they
stationery.
started out intact.
Yeah, yeah.
What's this obsession about them being intact?
Uh, well, because they're the charred remains of a fire, but these
Yeah.
are intact. I feel like that's why.
Yeah, it's just like if this wasn't a murder mystery story, I feel like you wouldn't be using that word. You
Oh, I
wouldn't be using
agree.
the word so
Yeah,
much.
100%. It's such a murder mystery word. Okay. Brought out
Okay.
an intact sheet of stationery for Nolan Financial Associates. I jabbed a finger at the Lime Street address, or might I find him here instead? I'm told he may be advising them. I might as well have waved a knife. They blanched, they blanched. Out with you now. Oh, sorry, that was a whisper. Out
Oh
with
my
you
god.
now.
That's so
Whis-
funny because I would have agreed to shout that.
yeah,
Right?
I didn't know until I read what it was. Whispered
Yeah.
Jacobson through his teeth. Oh, it's not even out with you now.
Oh, so it's anger So okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
I had to I had to read it 3 times before I knew how to read it. Anyway,
And that's how you know it's good writing.
I acquiesced. A block away, I abandoned Matter's quote parcel and went chop chop to St. James. What?
Okay, can we pause for a second? I'm trying to make sure I understand what happened here.
Okay.
So he brings out, he's like, "Hey, I'm just whoever person. Who did he say his name was? Oh, I'm just delivery guy. Don't
Yeah.
mind
I don't
me.
think he
Just
gave a
trying to
name
deliver a
this time.
watch." Yeah, just he was out of ideas.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
He's like, "My name is Mackenzie. I'll tell them I'm Kinsey. I don't have a second name, guys. I don't. Sorry, Sherlock. I can't do a second one. I'm out."
Yeah.
Okay, so then he says, "Hey, look what I got. Okay, he's not here. Where is he? I got delivered him somewhere. Like, I can't leave the package here for you guys. I delivered him in person, and he's not here. So I need to go to where he is. Maybe that's his house. Tell me where he lives." And she says, "I think that's only fair," which is a weird thing to say. Um,
I agree. I was really confused by that. I don't know what that means.
and then he's like, "Okay, fine. Just get him the address. What do I care, right? Like, okay." And then
It's like, is that some French thing? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
yeah, like you went through all the trouble to come here and therefore like you don't want to leave empty handed. So even though
Yeah.
it's gonna be more work for you to go to the second place, that's all your ultimate goal. Therefore, we don't want to be rude and not let you complete your job. I
Yeah.
don't know. What I'm
I
saying.
guess. Yeah.
Uh okay, so he writes down the address. Okay. But then he says, "Might I find him here instead?" So, sorry, where's the Lime Street address? The address of the Nolan Financial Associates?
No, well, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of their offices. Yeah.
Okay. So not
It says
Newcastle
that
Row.
in the previous letter.
Okay. So Jacobson writes down Newcastle Row as an address, and then he's like basically matters here, or is where he lived. And then work says, "No, here's Nolan Financial Associates. Here's their address. Maybe he's here. He's been advising him." Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Uh, I just want to point out something as a thought experiment. Like, if you took this case and you had to make a TV show, this would be a great first scene. Like a guy showing up at a bank,
Oh,
clearly
yeah, yeah.
undercover, clearly trying to get information about this other character. You know what I mean? Like, this would be a really interesting place to start. The story, and then backtrack from there. Like, you probably wonder how I got
Oh
here. My
no,
name is
not that. Anything but that. Oh my
But
god.
that's yeah, this is just an interesting scene that it's so strange. It's like a classic spy scene.
Yeah.
And he's like playing a gambit. So I see why this is the armchair detective because he's going kind of a step beyond just like help
Yeah.
me have a problem.
Yeah, no one did that in the previous mystery.
Hmm.
Nothing on this level. They just, like, walked in and, like, asked questions, and there
Yeah.
was no real, like, "Let's fake an
Yeah.
identity." It was someone, like, they didn't even know, like, at the pawn shop or the jeweler or whatever, like, they didn't even
Yep.
know who it was. They didn't care, like, what the name to have a fake name and, like,
Yep. Yep.
fake identity, and it was just like, yeah, like, "Has this person been here? What do you sell? Blah, blah, blah."
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, no, it's yeah, Armchair Detective definitely is a I mean, also he's the only one writing the letters,
That's a good
which
point too.
wasn't true in the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I'm up to
All right.
speed.
What? Okay.
I'm up to speed. Let's go.
All right, here we go. The residence was a tall, drab brick affair. I knocked at number 6 and waited. Rapping harder, I called to Matter. After several minutes, it was clear that he was either not in his flat or determined not to answer. However, perturbed by my persistent knocking and calls, a neighbor lady in number 5 stuck her head out, her hair in a faded blue wrap. This neighbor, Mrs. Calloway, I am sure, is a perfectly genteel and good lady. but her mannerisms caused me some quiet amusement. She has a pointed nose and an unusually angular body such that her movements appear bird-like. You desire to speak to my neighbor? She chirped. Yes, madam. I fretted over the fact that I had tossed out the parcel, which would have been an ideal excuse, but Mrs. Calloway needed no such excuse. She beckoned to me with a long, crooked finger, while a parakeet, with colors matching her yellow and green patchwork dress, twittered in her parlor. She told me, young James is off on a long trip. Just yesterday, I saw a cab waiting at the curb while he struggled with a trunk. The driver helped him lift it into the car and they were off. Mrs. Calloway not only had a detective's eye, but keen ears. As she recalled, she overheard Matter order the cabbie to a hotel near Southampton Station, possibly the Fillmore. I had to lean out the window to catch that, she grinned. Having told me this, she suddenly became embarrassed and asked if I were a friend of Mr. Matters. I explained that I wasn't and told her that I sought after him concerning a debt. She scoffed. He owes you money too? I nodded. You, me, and half the blokes at the Stag, she said. You very good at dodging, he is. An artist. Okay.
What is happening?
What do you mean what's happening?
Is this
Oh,
work going to Matter's house
yeah.
and then talking to his neighbor?
Yeah.
I was really surprised that he didn't say he was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's really weird to me that he would not tell the truth, but tell the more like pointed lie, I guess. It's weird. She's like, "Are you a friend?" It's easy for him to say yes. Then she'll just keep talking to him. Right?
Well, it says having told me this, she suddenly became embarrassed and asked if I were a friend. I feel like the idea is she
Oh.
didn't want him to be a friend. Like if he
He didn't
was
want
a
to gossip to
friend,
somebody he knew.
yeah.
Ah, thank you. Okay, dude, I was like, something is wrong with how this logic is working that he wouldn't say the obvious thing to keep her talking, yet she keeps talking. So I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out like what that was. Okay, you're right. It's this yeah, the what do they call it? What's the word for that? Social politics or something, or what do they call that? Where you care about what people think.
um
Uh,
uh
the social norms, the mores, the
okay, yeah,
what do
yeah.
you know, like reputation. I don't know, like the cultural part of why she would rather gossip to someone she doesn't know,
Yeah,
or doesn't know him, I should say,
right.
because that's a very specific thing.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't want to be
Because it's not about the
embarrassed.
gossiping. It's not about she doesn't. She's fine to gossip. She just doesn't. Yeah, want it to be like, oh, I'm telling this friend secrets, and he's gonna know, and
And it's going to get back to him and
yeah,
yeah. I feel like that's the idea. Like he realizes that saying no will keep her talking.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
So
makes sense now.
good. Okay. So, here we go. So he was a solitary sort of chap, I asked. She squawked with laughter. Hardly. Once a month, he meets another fellow who wears thick, round glasses. He has big jug handle ears. Ah, William, I could have kissed her for that precise description. Thank you. That's just a
Why didn't
parenthetical.
I know they never thought? I guess it didn't matter. They couldn't have told us before William had thick round glasses.
Yeah,
Or
they just decided to like just say here, this is who it is.
yeah,
So we don't have to figure it out for ourselves. She
yeah.
then leaned close and added, and there's a young lady too.
Uh
Dark
oh.
hair. Pert. Foreign, I think.
Oh no.
She comes arriving late and she'll say bonsoir to me. She
Ah.
will. as though a right proper French lady. They carry on until late. If you
What?
had the money, what would you buy, Monsieur James? She'll ask. And on they'll go with fairy tale fantasies. Be nice if they'd shut off the Victoria by midnight, would it not? But no, at each visit, you'll hear a cork popping and they'll all shout some nonsense such as, to Nolan. What? Well, to peace and quiet for once,
Uh,
I say. She tapped her fingers. Young people speak a different language. That's weird.
Sometimes it's
That's
French.
that's like
So are we in the like threesome thruple seeks to con bank out of money story? Like what's happening here? Uh
possibly.
uh First of all, I love how that the walls are so thin. She has so much to tell us. Like
She can tell
she
us
hears everything.
everything.
She hears
Yeah.
everything. I mean, they said William has big ears, but yeah, this lady did.
So
Okay.
clearly William James are in cahoots with what's her name from
Yeah.
the bank? What's that
Yeah.
character's name? Miss
Gilbert,
Gilbert.
Miss
Or
Gilbert.
Gilbert, I guess must
Please.
be what it is.
Yeah.
Now that I know.
Uh so but okay, so who's Nolan?
I think that's a question we're supposed to be asking. Has a Nolan ever been mentioned in anything up until now?
No way.
To my knowledge, no, but
No.
I don't think
I'm
I
searching.
have.
There's
I
no
don't think
Nolans.
no Nolans.
Only
100%.
names they have are J names. There's no uh okay. So well that's a surprise. They did not hint that she had any problems or
Well,
any
in this
it was
letter they
suspicious.
did, but yeah, not
Hmm.
before. Okay. Yeah, so to Nolan, we'll have to figure out what that means.
Hmm.
Okay, here we go. My mind reeled. If, like matter, William had absconded, then between Jenny and Miss Gilbert, my son-in-law was leaving behind two ladies. The incorrigible scamp! As I say, I could have kissed Mrs. Calloway, but I didn't. I simply thanked my grand informant for a time and staggered down to Lombard Street. It was time to return to Winslow's to shadow the meek Miss Gilbert. I believe chercher la femme is the phrase we employ in these cases. And if Mrs. Calloway was correct about her nationality, the phrase is utterly apt. I mean, it just means look for the woman. But anyway, at Winslow's, I peeked in, and Miss Gilbert was no longer at her post. Rather, Mr. Jacobson was pacing the marble lobby with a mighty scowl. I improvised. Has Mr. Matter returned? There's another timepiece that he. Jacobson
Another
interrupted.
watch. That's its
I know.
cover. It's like got yet another delivery for him.
Second watch of the day. Damn. How many watches? Yeah, that's like
Why
not.
why didn't I bring the second watch when I brought the first watch before? I mean, don't ask me. Don't that's not a like
He's not. Look, he's the amateur detective. All right, he's got a ways to go.
yeah, all right, it's his first case.
First case. Yeah, come on. All right. Jacobson interrupted me. Confound it, no. Confound them all. May I speak to Miss Gilbert? I asked. He shook his head. I ventured, should I try Nolan? You should not, you old rascal, he shouted, adding, this is where they both work. Where he works, right here. Not at bleeding Nolan Finances. Now go. I wondered if I might pry information out of anyone else, but Jacobson began speaking to some well dressed guards and pointing my way. I took the hint.
Well dressed.
Well dressed, yeah. I took the hint and decided to pay a visit to Nolan Finances to see. Oh, that's what Nolan is. It's Nolan Finances. She
Oh
misheard it.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
they hid it from us by
Good
spelling
job.
it differently. That's what it is.
Good job. Yeah.
To
It's
Nolan.
the second time I heard you say Nolan finances, it was just about to dawn on me. Like,
Yeah.
oh wait, were we thinking about it, Nolan?
Saying it out loud is the only reason I noticed. I think if
Yeah,
I read the text, I might not have even realized that that's clearly
yeah.
what that is. Okay, to Nolan. So, okay, so they have some deal going. All right. I decided to pay a visit to Nolan Finances. What does this have to do with these fucking obituaries? All right, anyway. Because it just seems like this is totally unrelated.
I
Pay a
forgot
visit
about
to
the plot.
I know, right? It feels like we're like so far off that at this point. All right, to Nolan Finances, see what I could uncover for myself. Unfortunately, I have nothing to report. I visited 23 Lime Street and discovered a luxury pet supplier, Fifi's Paradise. So much for Nolan's London office. I take it they're now operating solely out of Paris. Though this was serious business, I confess I was having a jolly good time, Mr. Holmes. It was only after returning home to Jenny that my worries returned. I promised I would meet her for dinner and to help finally clean up the place. She peered out as I walked up to her doorstep and said, "Nice to see someone not in a Bobby's uniform." I could smell something cooking from outside, and it pleased me to see she was trying to keep both feet on the ground. The place looked aces already. "There's enough lamb for four," she said, laughing. I told her she was a peach and sat to read the paper. None of my friends in the obituaries for a change. During dinner, we had trouble finding conversation. "I suppose we should relish this quiet," I said. She nodded. Once we were enjoying the lamb, I finally asked, "Did William have any other friends at Barclays?" Oh, they're fixing their mistake. They fixed their mistake. Wow.
So it
Did
is Barclays.
No, it's not. She's about to correct him. "Did
Oh,
William
here
have
we
any other
go.
friends at Barclays?" "Winslow's father," she corrected me, looking off in the distance. "I often make this mistake. The bank was named
Oh
Barclays when I was a lad."
God.
That's a retcon. They retcon their own
Wait,
letters.
wait, wait. Hold on. I gotta say this. If it's not a retcon, and they knew based on the age of this character that he would have grown, like if this is actually like I don't know if this is true,
A real place.
but if this was a real place, I know Barclays
Yeah.
Bank is a real place, but if it
Yeah.
used to be Winslow's, like that's cool if they really had that detail right. That's cool. But if it's just a retcon, it's still a pretty creative retcon.
It is, it is. I thought much like Big Annie, like it was just a mistake and they wouldn't like bother with this. But
Yeah,
anyway, I'm shocked
yeah.
that they're going there.
Maybe, yeah,
She then continued, "Not really. Just matter. Wait, did William have any other friends at Barclays?" That was or
yeah.
Winslow's. "Not really just matter. He joins him here once a month or so. Sometimes they go out, and William won't be home until past midnight." I asked her gently if she noticed anything else missing or broken in the house after the parlor was ransacked. "Perhaps any silverware or jewelry? I want to help you replace anything," I hazarded. She looked me straight on and said there was little to disappear as things started
Uh-huh,
vanishing
uh-huh,
last year to
uh-huh.
cover William's debts.
There we go.
"Is that why you haven't worn your bracelet these days? The one with the brooch from your birthday?" Tears came
Your
to her eyes
birthday.
as brooch day, as she nodded. "It has been a trial. You think I married a skunk." I remained quiet for a
Ooh.
moment and said, "Jenny, you deserve the best." Somehow we got through the rest of the meal, and while she busied herself with dishes, I tidied up what I could around the parlor.
Is William a Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah, the fact that Gilbert has the bracelet definitely seems like it implicates William specifically.
So
Um,
so is it he gave it to Ginny and then he's like, oh well, we gotta sell this to cover debts? And then he just gives it to Gilbert instead
that's
of
what it
selling
looks
it.
like. That's what it looks like.
Well, it makes me wonder why the tea set hadn't gone yet. Was it just the last thing?
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair
Or did
point.
she not drink tea because she's French?
Mm-hmm.
Um, No. Okay. Wow.
All right. Here we're about to wrap this up. Here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Several frames that had fallen off a corner table were about all that was left to pick up. So I put away the broken frames and tended to that. One of the photographs of William, Jenny, Matter, and sad to say, Miss Gilbert, taken in happier days, gave me a
Ah.
start. Hmm. I tucked it in my jacket before sweeping the floors for Jenny. I spent another half hour with her, then kissed her goodnight and set out for a stroll. You're not even going to ask? Okay. Set out for a stroll to let my latest theories percolate. It was as I walked up Goodwood Road that I came upon Snape Stevens, who had another bit of interesting news. The last item I have to report. Snape and I made small talk, and I asked him, have you noticed that dodgy preacher chap lately, Joshua? Snape winked. I got the goods on him, Wark. He's a cousin of Sabine's from Birmingham. Funny thing, that bloke could barely walk when I saw him yesterday, limping along. You have to wonder if his friends up in Birmingham know about the lion in his family. Huh? Okay, we'll have to come back to that. That's where the case stands, and in spite of the news that Matter has been cited, I worry. Even if William fled with him, Sabine's hoodlums could still hurt my Jenny as retribution. There's also the foul possibility that William's body will turn up. My daughter shouldn't have to find out something so devastating from the papers. Mr. Holmes, is there anything else I can do to help you shed light on this case? Likely, I have read too many detective magazines, but with Sabini on the loose and so many others unaccounted for, my mind is reeling with possibilities. Please advise me. Okay,
Okay, so with Sabini on the loose, I just want to quickly say, oh well, they did just talk about the lion, but it makes me think the lion doesn't have anything to do with this. It's more about Sabini.
Sabini is
Like
the
he,
lion.
oh, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's what I meant. It's not about the Jack Darby.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about Jack Darby. It's about Sabini.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh I got confused. I got confused about this thing where I think he's saying Joshua could barely walk when I saw him
Joshua got
yesterday.
beat up. Yeah. So basically, so Joshua is a cousin of Sabini,
Yeah.
and I it says his friend he was from Birmingham. His friends in Birmingham know about the lion in his family, know about Sabini. No, do they know that he's Sabini's cousin? If they know he's Sabini's cousin, they would beat him up. Why would they beat him up if they know he's Sabini's cousin unless his friends in Birmingham are anti Sabini? So he's friends with Jack Darby.
Oh, is Jack Darby from Birmingham?
Let's go to that. Let me search for that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, where was that? Here it is. Uh
The first letter?
I thought it was the second one.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Um Here it is. Jack Darby's come to town from Clerkenwell.
That's not Birmingham.
So no, it's not. It's not. Has Birmingham been mentioned somewhere? See, I do not understand. Oh yeah, my first letter, I think, well, I don't know for sure. Let me see. All right. Yeah, I think my first letter is not searchable. Oh, second letter is not searchable, I should say. Um, so I would just have to scan it.
According to Google Maps, the distance between Clerkenwell and Birmingham is about 117 miles.
Okay, yeah. In UK, I mean, that's a long way for them.
Yeah, it's a whole Hobbit journey.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you
They're
go.
back again.
Yeah, so like I just don't understand the sense of this sentence. Like it's it's like they found out he was related to Sabini, so they beat him up. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
like what? Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Don't you
don't
get it?
know.
What don't you get about that?
I just I don't well that just seems weird. Like
Yeah.
it made me think that he was saying like Sabini had him beat up and then he's just speculating, you know, like if his friends in
Oh,
Birmingham know about the lion and his family, like I got confused about what the point is supposed to be here.
yeah, I agree. What did the friends in Birmingham have to do with anything?
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, what? Like how why? Who? So, but
And
I
and the
mean,
and the fact that he's from Birmingham makes it seem like he's down recently. So it's like, is he just in town to do this obituary thing? Or he's in
yeah.
town for some specific kind of thing or more recent time frame thing. Um,
Now, the fact that he's related to Sabini and he was implicated in the obituary
hmm
stuff makes me think that indeed Sabini is
yeah,
behind the obituary thing. And
yeah,
that actually there are two plots here.
yeah.
There's
There's at
the
least two
obituary
plots.
thing and the bank
The bank thing.
Nolan
Yeah,
conspiracy slash maybe there's murder involved. I don't know what's in that trunk.
yeah.
Um, we're gonna have to find out, but it definitely looks like it's very notable to me in terms of like the solution and how this is gonna go. That the whole thing with like the betters being killed and the
hmm
obituaries and like barely gets mentioned
Yeah.
in
There was
in
no
this
more
letter.
obituary mentioned, right? Did he
Yeah,
say
I mean,
maybe he
he
said
mentioned
once? He
not
said there
seeing
was no.
obituaries,
Yeah.
but that's it.
So what happened? I mean, obviously for work, what happened is one mystery led to another mystery. So his
Yeah.
focus got changed. But on the Sabini side and the Jacobs, Joshua side, why did the obituary stop? Was it just Sabini went to jail? He got arrested 2 days ago, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it? Oh, did he get arrested? Maybe he got arrested because he beat up Joshua.
Well, I
I'm
thought he just
sorry,
got
the
arrested
opposite way.
because
Sorry, the opposite way. He beat up Joshua because he got arrested.
yeah, it could be.
So
That could
basically,
definitely be
yeah,
true.
because Joshua's out here, trying to maybe get people to pay, and it led
Yeah.
people back to Sabine. Like maybe that's the only other thing. Maybe that's what that sentence means.
Yeah.
It's just like he got a lion in his family. A lion is a deadly animal, right?
Yeah.
In his family, something that can hurt you in his family. I wonder if his friends know that he's got someone who can hurt him in his family.
Yeah.
That's all he's saying. So I like your idea. Like Sabini beat him up for some reason. The obituaries. I mean, I guess the obituaries didn't stop so much as I don't know. Like, first of all, it never seemed to work. By the way, can we just say that? Like, the plan never. Like Annie dead, she didn't pay. Jack left, and
Mhm.
Joe. I don't think Joe paid. He didn't have any money, and he's dead
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
like, this was a bad plan.
It was a
And so I
real bad
wonder,
plan.
is that why Sabini beat him up? Like Sabini is the leader, but it wasn't his plan. Um, and so he's punishing Joshua for coming up with this dumb plan.
Mhm.
That's interesting because that's one of the things I love about the movie Total Recall is it does this thing with the villain and the other antagonist where the villain, Cohagen has a plan that he's not telling his henchmen about. So they do things that they're not supposed to do, and vice versa, because they won't just follow his orders. Like they're thinking ahead, and they're so part of what makes the movie complex is like the villain has a plan, and but not everybody knows what the plan is, and then the bad guys know part of the plan, but not the whole plan. So yeah. Anyway, I wonder if it's a Total Recall thing here, where like Sabini didn't tell Joshua to go do all this.
Oh. Yeah, maybe so, maybe
You
so.
like maybe it's Joshua's job to collect on the money, or something, or maybe he took the
Yeah,
bet.
that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like he's showing up and it's his way of like, yeah, trying to
Yeah.
collect.
Yeah, and but it's clearly not working. Now I guess so now we have a pretty solid theory about Sabini and how he's related to Joshua and the obituaries. But what happened to Rainy Annie? Why was she killed? And what happened to Joe? Why did the violence escalate?
That is weird. I mean, they did give a rationale that this new gangster's coming to town, and so
Okay,
maybe
so Randy maybe just placed her bets with the new people and then they killed her. So she's
yeah,
not a victim of Sabini.
possibly not, possibly not. But there was the
Uh,
obituary, so I don't know.
Coincidence? Yeah, yeah. Because that's what Joshua said. He never actually got to her place,
He
right?
did say
So
that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
true.
that's okay. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. That's just a coincidence that she was in line to be visited, but he never went there, and she had already placed bets with other people, and they, killed her. Okay, I could buy that. And then what about Joe? Why was Joe beat up and then killed? And by whom? Same guys? He's also placing bets with Jack?
I guess it could be. I guess it could be. Yeah, maybe they're not doing the murders.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing this like elaborate threat plan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's possible. Definitely. Um, I think another thing that might be true here is, Matter had the obituary as well. So I feel like it's possible that, Matter is the bridge between the two plots, and that he was actually targeted by Sabini. Like he borrowed money, or he bet money and got in arrears with Sabini,
So not
and
William, but Matter.
Matter, yeah. I think they said somewhere in here that he was also a gambler. Um, I think they did. Um, uh, uh, so yeah, well, I'm just saying him because he was the one in the obituary,
Oh, okay. Okay.
you know. Um, uh and so like maybe because of the obituary, that's why he was like, they're not gonna get us here, we'll defend ourselves, the
But
whole thing that happened at the house.
dude, the logistics, like, it almost makes sense to me, but the logistics of Jenny's house, right, is confusing me. Like, why does so much action take place there? And that's not where Matter lives. It's where William lives, but he's not the one at the center of all this stuff.
They
That's what
would have
I'm
had to
confused about.
find out that he was there. um it does seem like, he's known to be associated with William.
Yeah, and the next door lady could be like,
Yeah,
oh, if he's not here, he's and not at work, he's at William's house over in blah 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 street. And
something
then
like that.
Joshua goes over there and then he's like, "Hey, you better repent." And then what? Like, I guess I'm still trying to yeah, what do you think happened at the
And then
house with
what actually
Coco?
happened? Yeah, that's a good question. That's a fair point. I mean
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to say, like, something happened, and part of that was they were expecting, Sabini to come for them, like, those lines, like, that's what it was referring to. What actually happened specifically? Well, we have all our clues, so we should be able
Could
to figure it out.
could it be well, when you say it like that, why can't we do it? Um,
Some to do with the trunk, some to do with
could
the
it
holes out back.
So, I mean, maybe there's a pattern here, right? So, Randy, Annie potentially place bets with both Sabini and Jack. I'm saying Jack is like the people who'll kill you, and Sabini's the people who won't kill you. They'll just do
Mhm.
the obituary thing and
Yeah.
maybe beat you up. So,
Yeah.
so he goes. Wait, I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, Randy Annie's placing bets with both people. Uh, Joe is potentially placing bets with both people. Now we have maybe Matter to complete the pattern here is placing bets with both people,
Yeah.
and so
Potentially. Yeah.
maybe that's why Josh was there from the Sabini side, but not the like the violence side.
Mm-hmm.
and then later Jack's people show up,
Yeah.
and that's when it gets violent. That's why he has the gun, and that's where the fire poker comes into play. Because we see we does Work run into Joshua after he's been to Jenny's house, right? After he's left the
Oh, that was the one where the timeline was
presumably,
confusing.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember trying to
My
figure this
point,
out last time.
I guess, my point is from that scene with Work and Joshua, it doesn't seem like he's been in a fire poker fight. So it makes me
You're
think
right.
he had already been there. If he was there, he had already been there before that happened. But then there's the thing where he comes back to the house. Yeah, you're right. That timeline's crazy. He comes back
I
to the
think
house
it
and brings
was
the
I think
pamphlet.
it was after some of that happened at least because he
Oh,
runs
the
into
police were already
Josh.
there. Yeah, you're right. The police were already there. So the pamphlet was definitely after all that because the
Well,
police
but
were
when he
there.
originally ran into Joshua, it was right
Yeah.
before he runs into Jenny coming from the house.
And he didn't
So
know, and that was her coming the first time, right?
that was her coming the first time, yeah.
And he didn't know anything was wrong at the house. We didn't know any of that. So,
Yeah.
but we don't know if that means Joshua.
But I guess Joshua could have
Oh,
come from there.
but it's pretty unlikely that that would have. But because Ginny had just left, right?
Yeah.
So there's a small window of time for her not to be there during the fire poker fight,
Right.
and then Joshua to show up and then leave, unless she was there when it happened.
Right. Yeah. And is concealing it.
Well, who? Yeah, I like the idea that she poked William. Maybe she did it accidentally. Um, and that's why she was worried. And then when she found out later he was okay, she was better.
Mhm.
You know, because I kind of want to make that line be true, where he jokes like, "Oh, maybe I poked William." You
Right.
know,
Ooh, yeah.
so maybe she
Yeah.
did it, but and she okay. So we do have so going back to this letter here, we do have more information, and this is what I was theorizing before was that they were going into debt and losing things around the house, right? Selling
Yes.
things, trying to keep things afloat, to pay the rates, as it were.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so it makes me think she could have been really mad at William. So maybe it comes out what's happening. Oh, can we talk about the elephant in the room? I mean, the biggest elephant in the room is this picture at the end of the story with all four of them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Lost Highway or something.
That's it literally what I thought when that came up. Yeah, it's like, "Wait, all 4 of y'all were hanging out? What?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, wait, one of you's not real. Who's the one that's not real?
Yeah, yeah. They both you? What's going on?
Yeah.
This is what is does she have an alternate identity?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's it. That's all that needs to happen is Jacobson from the bank comes to Jenny's house and to say, "Hello, Miss Gilbert," and Work is like, "This isn't Miss Gilbert. This is my daughter Jenny," and he's yeah, and it's just a wig or something. Like that's the only difference. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I just thought it was weird he didn't even ask her about it, but, like, I guess if I'm putting on my, like, calm down, maybe it's no big deal hat, I would say that, she did work with both of them. So, it's not
Gilbert.
yeah. So it's not out of the
No,
question,
no,
I
no, 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 no,
guess.
no. Yes, it is. Leave it in the question, please. Um, it's crazy, I think, that in Jenny's house, where William lives, is a picture of him and his friend, and a late and William's wife, and a lady they work with. Like, there's no way you take a picture like that and it's just in your house, unless that lady is romantically
Okay,
involved. Unless that
look.
lady is romantically involved with
Okay.
presumably matter.
Although with the bracelet, it kind of seems like maybe it's William, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I mean, yeah, from Jenny's perspective, but
it
yeah, I
should
agree.
be, yeah, it should be. No, okay, look.
Unless
Uh,
this is a foursome gone wrong and Jenny was cut out
oh
of the
no,
foursome.
Foursome Gone Wrong, the little known mystery genre.
Yeah, that sub mystery genre that all 10% of Holmes mysteries are the
Oh
what
my
did I say?
god.
What did I say? Quadruple? The quadruple that went wrong. I forgot what I said.
The foursome.
Oh, foursome. There it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the foursome that went wrong. Yeah, okay. I just have to hold a little bit of hesitation, because although your point is valid that like it's not realistic that they would have a photo of some random coworker like up in their house, I do think sometimes these things take some liberties to present us clues that like don't really make sense if you
yeah.
think. So I'm just saying, like, it's possible that this is just a
Yeah, I agree with
contrivance.
you. All they needed for me to make this work and keep it in that context that you are saying that I agree with is like, just say it was a Christmas party, say it was an office party. Give us a reason why they
Yeah.
would be together in a work context that you also would have a spouse there, and then that's it. Like I get that. That's all I need to have plausible deniability. But there was no context for the picture, so it makes my brain think it could be anything.
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder, like, what does Jenny know about Gilbert, you know?
Yeah, well,
Like
that's why I wondered. Like, yeah, she clearly knows who this lady is.
yeah, and I'm just confused that like was his taking the photo like, I don't know, like it's
Mhm.
just weird to me. Like is he suspicious of her, or is he just doing it because he wants to take it somewhere else or do something? I mean, the weird thing is this thing's over now. So what's he going to
Yeah,
do with this photo? Like what's the point of taking a photo at the end of a thing that's over? Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm
He's
very
not gonna be able
confused.
to. Yeah, because you're right. Because he's not gonna be able to say what he did with it.
Yeah. Like maybe Holmes will. Maybe Holmes will say,
I got
and
your
the
last one. I got
picture
your
that you took clearly shows
oh.
that, maybe something like that'll happen. But
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Holmes will reference a letter we didn't see or something. Or
yeah,
uh,
maybe.
let
Maybe.
me see. What several frames. One of the photos of William Jenny Matter and sad to. He says sad to say. Why is he sad to say? Sad to say, Miss Gilbert. Oh, sad to say it was happier days? No, sad to say Miss Gilbert taken in happier days. Yeah, I don't know why he's sad to say that she's
I
involved. He just
mean,
say surprise. Is he just mean surprisingly?
I I feel like more or less, or just the fact that she's involved with people he cares about. I don't know.
But he acts like he's like
Um,
in love with her or something. Like, why does he care?
what?
Well, it just seems like it's a lot of emotion about this character. I don't understand. Like, why is he sad to say that she's in this picture?
Well, I feel like she's involved in some kind of thing that, William and James are involved in, some kind of financial doings that have like, disrupted his daughter's like, home situation. Like I feel like it's a sign of like impending doom, for their situation, that, like they were there, but like later on this was gonna, blow things up at the place. I mean, I feel like that's the idea.
You mean that something bad's gonna happen to Gilbert next? That he's thinking that?
No, 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 that something bad has
Oh,
already happened with William and with James, and she's implicated in that.
because she's in a picture.
Not because she's in a picture, but because she was hanging out with them. She's implicated to some degree in whatever scam they're doing with
But that's
Nolan.
I
Like,
guess that's even make my point stronger. I think is that he already has heard all this before. Why is her being in the picture a sad to say? Is it like you're just saying like confirm? It just confirms everything that he's already heard that he's sad about.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a bittersweet quality to looking at, maybe bittersweet's not the right word. Looking at a photo of,
Okay, so it's
characters.
not about sad to say Miss Gilbert specifically.
I mean, the way it's phrased, it does seem like it's sad to say Miss Gilbert specifically. I do think he's putting too much weight on her role in this.
Okay, I agree. Okay, last question, just so I understand it. I know I'm being pedantic and this doesn't even matter. But if instead it said Miss Gilbert, if it was Jacobson from the bank, would it still make sense to say, and from what you're trying to describe, and sad to say Mr. Jacobson?
I don't think so because I don't think Jacobson's involved in their scheme.
Okay, okay. But wouldn't this photo implicate him in it because he's in this photo with three other people who are implicated in it?
Well,
Or is
if
that
he was
kind
in
of
the photo, yeah, if he was in the photo and she was also in the photo, then at a certain point, yeah, I would suspect him. But based on
okay?
the way he reacted to the stuff about Nolan, like I get the sense that they've been screwed over somehow by what William and James and Miss Gilbert have done, and he doesn't know about Miss Gilbert's involvement, seemingly. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
just to
Okay.
say, I don't think he's involved in this. So, like, if he was, then yes, it would work the same way. It's just because he's not, I don't think it would.
So it's weird that he takes the picture.
Yeah,
Uh, because she's gonna notice it's missing.
I was thinking the same thing, although we'll never get to hear about that. So that's where I return to, like, why is this happening at the end of the story? Like, that's just weird. Because it's going nowhere. Like, right? Like, I mean, the most we can get is Holmes says,
Yeah.
"I'm glad you
Thank you
sent me
for
that
yes. Thank
picture."
you for enclosing the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like something in the picture is a clue, but we don't really hear much about the picture except who's in it. So like what are we going to get? We already know those characters are associated.
Mm.
So it goes like I have no idea what the point of that
And
is.
why wouldn't he? And if he is gonna enclose it, why wouldn't he say he's enclosing it like he did before when he enclosed something?
Well, they corrected it, but now I'm not so sure they should have. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, yeah, he could just I tucked it in my jacket before sweeping the floors, for Jenny. It's enclosed in this letter.
Yeah. Yeah. I tucked it in my jacket. That's the last he mentions, right? Like it's
Yeah.
never talked about again. That's so weird. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there really should be a point to that. I don't know. Maybe he's just being sentimental. This is yeah, I'm
Oh, by the
confused.
way, I want to go back to the Sabini and Joshua thing. I do want to say the fact that Joshua is beaten up and not dead also makes me think that's Sabini's thing is just to beat people up and not kill them.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I agree. I agree. That makes sense.
Okay, so I still don't. I mean, this letter was crazy. I think did this happen at the last case with the fourth letter, where it just like added a bunch of random new stuff.
It kind of. I think the fourth letter for the previous one was like a little bit easier though.
Yeah.
Like it, we first of all, like the mystery was less complicated, so it was easier to just like it was like who took the thing, right? Like we didn't have to answer every question, but like who took the astrolabe, right? Like and the constables at the jewelers with jewels from the astrolabe, and it's like okay, well he took it then.
Yeah.
Like there's so it was fairly easy to like narrow that down. it's true that we didn't get all the details, and so there's probably more. There was more to it than that, but I feel like here it's harder because it seems like we have at least two plots going on here with at least with some mild overlap, but mostly separate. And I don't really know what they are. It's like they're doing something with the bank, some scheme. Something happened with the trunk. Maybe William's dead. I don't know. Maybe William got
Why
poked.
is that? Why Jenny's in good spirits? It's like he's finally dead.
Or he's just on the run, but I feel like there's a decent chance that William's dead. He's in the trunk. He got poked. And maybe James like wanted to bury him in the bag, but then realized that was a horrible idea, so he put him in the trunk. I don't know.
So what? So do you think Jenny and so what if William and Gilbert were together and James and Jenny are together?
Oh no! Oh no! A double affair! Wow!
Yeah, yeah, the reversal.
Wow!
uh,
Wow!
and so maybe James. Yeah. Okay, but okay. So I don't know. I'll throw that out there. But also, what was the plot that they had together, the four of them,
Well, we
or
don't
the
really
three of them?
know. So I can only assume it doesn't matter because I don't think they've really told us anything to draw any specific conclusions,
But it definitely
right?
okay, but well, clearly. But doesn't mean we can't spend 3 more hours guessing. Um, um, Nolan financials, right? Okay, so clearly, like, there's this whole thing that Jacobson said about,
Oh, and
like,
it's fake too. That was a reveal.
it's not yeah, so oh, that's interesting, now that changed what I was gonna say.
It's just a
So,
front.
it's just well, they're doing all their business out of the Paris office, clearly.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. A weird
Yeah, that
conclusion
was
to
a lie.
draw.
Those yeah, there's no Paris office, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
what do you
seems like
make
the thing to say, but
what do you make out of Nolan Financial, the idea that James Matter worked there, but or claimed he worked there, but then Jacobs was like, no, he works here. He doesn't work there. What does that mean? What's that about?
um
In 5 words or less.
other than I mean, what's it about? I mean, I just took it at face value. I don't know. What do you have
Well,
something more
just
you think
well,
it's
I
about?
mean, well, listen, I can only point to the threads, right? I mean, we have this idea of a financial institution, some burned papers and records,
Yeah,
some clearly intact. We have this audit that the bank is going through,
right.
right? What's up with that? What's up with this audit? They haven't seen him since the audit, right?
Well,
Are
yeah.
are they being audited by Nolan Financial? But it's really a front for something William and James are doing, but then there's this thing of Jacobson being like, no, he doesn't work there. He works here, as if like he recruited him from there, or it almost like he's validating that that's a real place. Think,
Now, maybe he thinks it's a real place
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he doesn't know, you know, he hasn't been to the office to know that there's really
Like,
nothing
what's this
there.
animosity? Even if you know Jacobson thinks Nolan is a real place, and that's where Matter used to work. Why is he so mad when Warwick insinuates that James might be back there?
Well, so I'm assuming that Jacobson knows something about what happened. I don't know how much, but I'm assuming that he has some vague sense that, or more specific, that James and William and well, he doesn't know about Miss Gilbert. I think he'll be disappointed to learn that she was also involved.
You mean sad to say?
sad to say. There you go. Maybe that's where it belonged. Anyway, that they I'm assuming that their financial plans included maybe like taking money from the bank somehow,
Yeah, yeah.
and he knows about it, and like the books weren't right or something. Like maybe that's what led to the audit, and then they disappeared. Like I'm
Hmm.
assuming that that's the idea of why he's so angry, because he understands that they ripped him off somehow.
Okay, okay. I like that. Yeah. The money was being paid to that company and they found out it wasn't a real company.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
But but
they
maybe
set up
but
a front.
maybe but does but it's almost like he's not mad at James enough about that, right? He's mad something about that he might be there, but not that because he said tell him he's got a place of business to visit. That's not what you say to someone who's defrauded your company, right?
Well, so yeah, so I'm it makes me want to
Is it like
assume.
I was gonna say, is it like Jacobson's like, hey, we need an auditor company, or we need a company to provide financial services, and James like, well, the company I used to work at's great. You should go to them. And then he's like, oh, what's it called? Oh, Nolan Financial. Oh, great, cool. And then the money gets stolen, and he blames Nolan. But he's not like, well, it's a fake company that James invented, so I'm not mad at James. Is that's the closest I can get to making that work? I don't know.
So I'm assuming that he's like, what am I trying to say? Um uh there's another timepiece that he, what does that mean?
He was gonna
Uh
give him an excuse of why he's here again.
oh, I'm sorry. That that was not Jacobson saying that. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's work.
Yeah, confound it, no, confound them all. Yeah, so I feel like he's I mean, it's clunky, but I feel like he doesn't. there was a line in there was a line in letter 2 that he said, let me see if I can find it here. Was it letter 2? Where's the one where he visits the first time?
I think letter two.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Is it letter, maybe it's letter 3.
Is it three?
Yeah, I think it's letter 3. All right, here we go. Let's see. Um okay, yeah, here it goes. Um let's see. He says, yeah. He says, so he asks about, he's asking about William at this point,
Yeah,
and he says, uh
I'm glad you brought
he's a
this up.
valued employee and we'd like to help him smooth out any bumps on his path, blah blah blah, right? And then Wark says, has he done something wrong? And Jacobson drew back and chuckled. That's hardly the public's worry.
Hmm.
So what I'm trying to say is I think he doesn't want to just be openly declare what he knows and what he believes to this random guy that's delivering watches. And so I think he's being cagey about who he's mad at and why.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that's why he's holding back about saying, like, James and William are thieves and I want to see them immediately. Like he's not saying that. Um
He's also, but I get that point. But he's making this case about where they work, right? Like they work here right now. This is where they work. They don't work over there. Like that's a really weird thing to say. You know, that to me that's different than they did something wrong and I don't want to say what they did. Like he's just doubling down about where they work. Um, but I mean, but yeah, hardly the public's worry. I mean, I
but
get
yeah,
your
I
point.
guess that's what I'm trying to say is I'm assuming that that's like a vague hint that he knows that they did stuff involving Nolan, you know?
Oh, I think I get you now. So you're saying that he's doubling down on the idea that So almost like he knows that Nolan defrauded them, but he
Yeah.
doesn't want anyone to know that. So he's
Yeah.
going to deny that Nolan is even a place that anyone worked at because it's
Yeah.
not a real place. And
Something
he's
like that.
worked here. He's always worked here. He's never worked anywhere else. I see.
Yeah.
He's doubling down on that. Okay, I think I got you
Yeah.
now.
And he's playing it close. He's not trying to give away too much of what he's really thinking, but so that's my read on it. I don't,
Okay,
we'll find
I
out
can
when we
buy
get
that.
to the solution.
Can I say something? I thought you were going to talk about here, which is a weird thing in hindsight, which is the first time we see Miss Gilbert. Why would she ask Work, who's undercover as Kinsey,
Right.
um, does William owe you money too? Now that we know what she's up to and what she knows, that's a strange question to me. How do you
No,
reconcile that
I
question?
think it works because I think they so this goes back to this goes back to all the betting and the gangsters
Okay.
the uh and the obituaries and all that stuff. I mean, I think they, in addition to doing this like financial malfeasance, I think they were involved in betting and did owe money to
Okay.
people, and I feel like she's sort of playing lookout for them. Like, were
Well,
there
why? Yeah,
people asking?
exactly. Why would she let on to that if she knows that that's a possibility that bad guys can be looking for him?
Because I don't think she wants to give away her you know the fact that she's complicit.
Okay.
Like, I think she wants to
So
make it look
so
like she's on the side of
and then
whoever's
if he
looking
says
for her.
yes, then she can get information about who that
Yeah.
is and tip him off. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would
Wow.
guess.
She's undercover.
Yeah, I think she is undercover. I mean, I think she helped to defraud this bank that she's working as. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
Oh
think
man,
she's
if she turns out to not be French.
I know, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Hmm.
Never spoke a word of the language. I
It's
don't
not
care.
Gilbert, it's Gilbert.
Yeah, Gilbert, please.
Hard T. Okay. Well, I don't know what else we could talk about except letter five. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah,
happened here. I think there's two different. You're right. There's two different stories, and they have some overlap, but they're not directly related.
yeah, which I really didn't think they would do, but at this point, it looks to me like it's impossible to make them one thing.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
so I think we just got to go with two things.
Hey, when you can't make it one thing, the next step is two things. And guess what? If you can't make it two things, what do you have to make it?
Go for three.
Go for three.
Three
All right,
things.
we'll be back next time as we go for three.
Going for
Potentially.
three with letter number five.
Yeah, that's eight if you're counting at home.
Don't
Until
know why
next
you
time,
add, but yes, I agree.
thanks everybody.
All right. Bye. See you next time.